Hi, I'm Mark Gaylor for markgaylor.com, and today I'm going to look at the function menu on the Sony Alpha cameras. This is a great way of getting really quick access to your favorite shooting settings that you want to fine tune and adjust for the shooting scenario that you find yourself in without having to go into the main menus. So without much further ado, let's take a look at how we can change and modify those settings and also the settings that I've chosen to use for my own shooting situations. I want to take a look at the function button, or the FN button, on the back of this Alpha camera. If I press it, I get quick access to some of the menu items. Now there's 12 menu items I can quickly navigate here. For instance, this is the drive mode and ISO, and if I just press the center button, I can override some of these settings very quickly. Okay, so I'll just drop that back to 100 ISO and exit the function menu there. Okay, now the only problem that I can see with some of these menu items is I already have access to some of these options on the back of the camera. For instance, there's an ISO override here which I can quickly access. I'll just show you that. I can just quickly press the right button and get into that same feature. Now, ideally, the FN menu should be customized for your own requirements, and there's lots of things that don't appear in this function quick access menu. Now, that could be reprogrammed. For instance, things like steady shot, face detection, all sorts of things that you may prefer to be here. And the way we can access and reprogram some of these FN buttons is simply to come into the menus. Now we're going to come up to the tab which gives us access to function menu settings here, and then I can simply press the center button and I can go in and reprogram any of these. For instance, the drive mode, which I already have on this left hand side, I could just press and then start going in and selecting something that I would prefer, such as self-timer during bracket. Okay, now I'm just going to reprogram, there's another good one, silent shooting. Okay, so if I just reprogram that and come out, now every time I want to put the camera into silent shooting mode, I've got quick access there. So silent shooting, and switch that back on. So again, quick access using that FN. What I'm going to do now, however, is I'm going to go in quickly and reprogram all of these to show you how I prefer to set up the FN menu for my particular Alpha camera. And then I'll rejoin you and tell you why I've chosen some of these settings. Okay, so let's take a look at what I've decided to program into my function menu. I'll just press the FN button one more time. I'm in the top left hand corner, and the top row here I've primarily chosen to optimize shooting settings for shooting wildlife and fast moving subject matter. Now I've got focus mode there. I can press the center button to come into that menu and choose another option, but there is a slightly faster way, and that is just to roll one of the command dials there. So I'll just roll that and choose continuous autofocus. Now, without having to press that menu, I can just cycle right and switch the drive mode from single into high-speed shooting. Coming across again, I'm changing that focus area to lock on AF expand flexible spot. This will allow me to isolate one of a subject in a group of moving subjects and track them very accurately. Okay, ISO auto minimum shutter speed. Now I will have to set the ISO auto on the back of the camera first, just by pressing that right side of that wheel, and then I'm free to be able to come in and select a specific shutter speed. For instance, if it's fast moving, I could, for instance, set 2,000th of a second. Even faster and at close range, I might even bump that up to 4,000th. If it's just a street type shooting that I'm working with, I might choose the ISO standard and then just bump that. I'll use the other wheel this time and bump it, instead of slow, I'll bump it to fast. That will double the shutter speed. Faster will double it again. So if I'm working with a 200mm lens, fast would double it to a 400th of a second, and doubling it again would move it up to 800th of a second minimum. If obviously that's not fast enough, then I can quickly come in and select those shutter speeds in thousandths of a second there. Okay, so I'll just move that back to faster and then cycle right. Smile face detect I've got switched off. That is quite useful if you've got multiple people and you're just tracking one specific person. You don't want it to randomly find a face and then start selecting on that one. Okay, and steady shot, obviously if the camera is moving very quickly in the hands, steady shot isn't really working for you. Okay, so let's just look at that bottom row, and I'll switch the shoot mode into movie here. Okay, so movies, and going into that FN menu, you'll see here the one in the bottom right hand corner is the shooting mode for movies. Now obviously we've only got one movie mode on the top of the dial, so we can't change between aperture, shutter, program and manual, and so having this accessible on the function menu is really quite useful. So I can go into shutter priority or program, or cycle back to manual exposure very quickly there. Okay, cycling left, I've got zebras if I want an early warning system for overexposure. I've got my audio recording levels there. I've got peaking color and peaking level, and then I've got my picture profiles for shooting in lower contrast, so that I can pop the contrast in post-production rather than setting it in camera. Okay, so there you go. So those are my favorite settings for the function menu. You might choose a different group of settings depending on your specialist area, but this really ensures that I don't go into the menus very often at all. Perhaps maybe to switch the setting effect on or off, maybe to reformat the card, but most everything else I'm accessing from the function menu. Okay, so I'm Mark Gaylor for markgaylor.com. If you find the information remotely useful, just give me the thumbs up and share the information.